What if I told you that the life you dream of is already waiting for you? That the only thing standing between you and its reality is a simple shift. A secret that once understood will collapse the time between desire and fulfillment. Most spend their days hoping and wishing, unaware that they are the very cause of their delays. But there is a way, a law that governs all creation. And when you align with it, manifestation is no longer slow, uncertain, or out of reach. It becomes immediate, inevitable, as natural as the rising sun. The key is this: assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. The moment you assume its reality, the unseen forces begin their work, molding the world to fit your assumption. Your imagination is the creator, and the speed at which you manifest is determined by your ability to accept without question that your desire is already yours. But how do you do this? How do you bring what is unseen into form without resistance? Let me reveal the precise steps to remove all obstacles and manifest faster than you ever thought possible. Most people delay their manifestations by keeping their desires in the future. They say, one day I will be wealthy, or I hope to find love. But manifestation does not operate in someday. It works only in now. The secret is to feel now what you wish to experience later. When you shift your awareness to already possessing what you seek, reality has no choice but to conform. Creation is finished. Everything you desire already exists. You are not bringing it into existence. You are selecting it. When you assume the state of the wish fulfilled, you step into the version of yourself that already possesses it. The world then arranges itself to reflect your assumption. You must see beyond what your senses report. If you judge reality based on what is rather than what can be, you remain bound by limitations. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between imagination and physical experience. What you accept as true in imagination becomes fact in your world. If you wish to manifest faster, you must sever all ties with a version of yourself that lacks your desire. Every time you doubt, every time you check for evidence, you reinforce the very reality you seek to change. The secret is persistence. Assume your desire is true and refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts it. The world is merely a mirror reflecting your internal state. If you wait for external proof before believing, you will wait forever. But the moment you allow yourself to feel the joy, security, and fulfillment of your desire before it appears, the mirror must reflect it back. Circumstances do not matter. If you let them dictate your beliefs, you will remain stuck. The law is simple. What you assume to be true will harden into fact. Do not concern yourself with how or when. Your only task is to remain faithful to your inner vision. Your most powerful moments of creation happen in the state just before sleep. In this drowsy, relaxed state, the conscious mind fades and the subconscious becomes receptive. This is where you plant the seed. Fall asleep every night feeling the joy of your fulfilled desire, and it will take root in the depths of your mind. No force outside of you is determining your reality. You are the one giving life to every experience through your assumptions. The secret to manifesting faster is understanding that you are not a victim of circumstances, you are the creator. Accept this truth fully, and you will never again question whether your desires will manifest. Your world is nothing more than the outpicturing of your consciousness. Change within. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and watch as the world bends to reflect your new state of being. The secret has been revealed. Will you use it? You must come to a great realization. There is no power in waiting, in hoping, in looking to the future for what already belongs to you now. The vast majority live as prisoners of time, pushing their desires forward, believing that someday with enough effort they will arrive at the life they wish to live. But time is an illusion. And so long as you see your desire as something to be attained in the future, you ensure that it remains there, always just beyond reach. To manifest what you seek, you must understand that creation is finished. There is nothing to attain, nothing to chase, only that which must be claimed. The moment you assume something is yours, in that very instant unseen forces begin to move. The external world has no choice but to follow the conviction of your inner reality. Your task is not to force the world to change, but to accept that it has already changed, even before your senses confirm it. The greatest mistake people make is waiting for external proof before they believe. They say, I will feel abundant when I see the money. I will feel loved when my partner arrives. I will feel successful when my goals are met. But this is not how the law works. You do not receive and then believe. You believe and then you receive. Every experience you have is merely a reflection of what you have previously assumed to be true. If you wish to change what is reflected, you must change what you assume in the present moment. All things exist now. Every possibility, every version of your life already exists in its fullness. You are not waiting for it to materialize. You are aligning with it by shifting your awareness. The state of mind you occupy determines which version of reality unfolds before you. The one who constantly says, it is coming, will always find that it is coming, but never arriving. The one who says it is already done will soon see their assumption take physical form. The present moment holds all the power because it is the only moment that exists. There is no past holding you back, no future to chase. There is only now. And what you choose to claim in this moment dictates what will appear in the next. When you understand this, you no longer live as a seeker, hoping for better days. You live as a creator, declaring and assuming that your desires are already yours. Your senses will deceive you if you let them. They will tell you that reality is fixed, that what you see is all there is. But your senses are merely registering what you have previously believed to be true. The outer world is always a step behind the inner world. To change what you see, you must first change what you know to be true within yourself. If you wish to manifest wealth, you must first assume the feeling of being wealthy. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. You must carry yourself as one who already possesses abundance, not one who hopes for it. If you seek love, you must first feel within the deep security of being loved, not yearn for it as something missing. When you embody the state now, the world will rush to confirm your assumption. This is not wishful thinking, it is a law as certain as gravity. The moment you feel something to be real, it begins its journey toward you. But if you insist on seeing your desire as distant, the law is just as faithful in keeping it distant. You are always manifesting, whether you realize it or not. The question is, are you manifesting delay or are you manifesting fulfillment? You must discipline your mind to remain faithful to the present assumption that you already are what you wish to be. Do not entertain doubts. Do not return to the habit of waiting. The moment you do, you reinforce the very state you seek to escape. Stand firm in the knowledge that what you desire is yours, not in theory, not as a possibility, but as an unshakable truth. There will be moments when reality seems unchanged, when logic whispers that nothing is happening. But this is where persistence must take over. The seed does not become the tree overnight, but the moment it is planted, its growth is certain. You do not dig up the seed every day to check if it is growing. You trust the process. In the same way, once you assume the reality of your desire, you must remain in that assumption without wavering. Many will say, but what if I do not feel it yet? The answer is simple. You must practice. You have spent years conditioning yourself to believe in lack, in separation, in struggle. Now you must recondition your mind to believe in ease, in abundance, in certainty. Every time you consciously assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you strengthen that reality. And when the moment of complete conviction arrives, when you truly know within yourself that it is already done, the world will reflect it effortlessly. Do not delay your manifestation by looking for signs, by asking when it will come, by measuring time. These are distractions that keep you anchored in the state of waiting. The only thing you must do is live now as the person who already has what they desire. Speak as they would speak, think as they would think, feel as they would feel. The world is a mirror. It cannot help but reflect back to you the state you embody. The present moment is where all power resides. Your desire is not in the future. It is here, waiting for you to claim it. Step into it fully, without hesitation, and the world will respond in kind. Everything you experience in life is a direct reflection of what you have assumed to be true. The world does not operate outside of you. It moves in perfect harmony with the convictions you hold within. To change your life, you must first change what you assume about yourself and your reality. This is not merely about positive thinking or wishful hoping. It is the recognition that assumption is the very law that governs creation. The mind is always occupied with some assumption. Every moment, whether consciously or unconsciously, you are assuming something about yourself and the world. Most people assume without awareness, allowing external conditions to dictate their beliefs. They see lack and assume lack. They experience failure and assume they are failures. And so, life continues to mirror these assumptions back to them, not because they are victims of circumstance, but because they are creators of it. To manifest what you desire, you must take control of this process. You must assume with full conviction that what you seek is already yours. The great secret is this: an assumption firmly held will harden into fact. This means you do not need to concern yourself with the how or the when. Those details are irrelevant. Your only task is to assume the end result, to feel as if you already have what you desire, and to persist in that state until the world conforms. The mistake most make is that they assume only when convenient. They allow circumstances to dictate their belief rather than dictating their belief to circumstances. They attempt to manifest, but then look to the outside world for confirmation. And when they see nothing change, they assume their manifestation has failed. But assumption does not require external validation. It requires internal conviction. The moment you assume something as true, it is set in motion. The outer world is merely catching up to what has already been accepted within. Assumption works with or without your awareness. Look at your life right now, at the conditions surrounding you. Every single event, every relationship, every financial situation is a reflection of past assumptions you have held. You may say, I never wanted this lack, I never chose this struggle. But on a deeper level, the assumptions were there. Perhaps you assume that money is difficult to acquire, that love is hard to find, that success requires struggle. And so, life, being a faithful mirror, has simply reflected those beliefs back to you. If you wish to change what you see, you must first change what you assume. This means assuming wealth even when your bank account says otherwise. It means assuming love even when you feel alone. It means assuming health even when your body appears weak. You do not wait for proof before believing. You believe first and the proof follows. This is the law and it never fails. You must embody the state of the wish fulfilled. This means thinking, feeling, and acting as if your desire is already realized. You cannot say, I hope one day I will be wealthy, for in doing so you are assuming a state of lack. Instead, you must assume I am already abundant. You cannot say, I hope I will find love someday, for that assumes separation from it. Instead, you must assume I am deeply loved now. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It only responds to the state you dwell in. Doubt is the greatest enemy of assumption. The moment you assume your desire is yours, the old self will rise with questions. But how? But when? But what if it doesn't happen? These doubts must be silenced, for they are merely remnants of past conditioning. You do not need to know how your assumption will take form. That is not your concern. The law works in ways beyond human reasoning. When you truly assume something is real, unseen forces rearrange reality to make it so. The world may tell you otherwise. It may say, be realistic, look at the facts, don't get your hopes up. But those who follow the world's logic remain bound by its limitations. Assumption frees you from these limitations. It allows you to step outside of what is and claim what can be. The only question you must ask yourself is, what am I assuming right now? For whatever you assume, life will make real. There is no such thing as an empty assumption. Every thought, every belief, every conviction is shaping the course of your life. If you assume struggle, you will struggle. If you assume ease, you will move through life effortlessly. The process does not discriminate between good or bad. It only reflects what you believe. This is why it is imperative to assume consciously, to direct your mind toward the reality you wish to experience. Do not make the mistake of assuming one thing in meditation and another in daily life. Many people sit in quiet contemplation, imagining their desires as fulfilled, only to go about their day assuming the opposite. They affirm abundance in the morning, but worry about money in the afternoon. They visualize love, but then doubt it will ever come. This contradiction cancels their assumption. You must persist, unwavering in the state of your desire. If you truly grasp this principle, you will understand that nothing is beyond your reach. There is no dream too great, no goal too far, for assumption is the very force that shapes reality. Assume boldly, assume with certainty, and the world will bend to reflect your conviction. Your life is not determined by chance or fate. It is determined by what you assume to be true. And the moment you take control of this process, you take control of your destiny. The greatest secret of manifestation is not in hoping, wishing, or even visualizing with effort. It is in living as though the desire is already fulfilled. It is in stepping beyond the world of appearances and immersing yourself fully in the reality you seek, not as something distant, but as something already yours. The external world is but a reflection of the internal state. To change what you see, you must first change what you are conscious of being. Everything in this world is a projection of consciousness. Every circumstance, every event, and every condition in your life is nothing more than the result of the state you have occupied. The mistake many make is that they seek to change the reflection rather than the source. They fight against conditions, they struggle against circumstances, but all of this effort is futile unless the internal assumption changes first. The mirror does not change until you change your expression. To live in the end means to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to mentally and emotionally dwell in the state where your desire is already realized. This is not daydreaming or idle fantasy. It is the disciplined art of self-persuasion. You must persuade yourself beyond any doubt that what you desire is already true, that it already exists in the unseen reality. And the moment you do this with conviction, the external world will begin to shift accordingly. Most people fail because they are waiting for evidence before they believe. They say, I will feel successful when I see success. I will feel loved when I find love. I will feel wealthy when I have money. But this is the reverse of the law. You must feel successful first, and then success will appear. You must feel loved first, and then love will manifest. You must feel wealthy first, and then abundance will come. The world is a shadow, and the shadow does not move until the body moves first. This requires an unwavering commitment to your inner reality. The moment you entertain doubt, the moment you allow the external world to dictate your belief, you have stepped out of the end state and back into limitation. To live in the end, you must make the unseen more real to you than what is seen. You must be so convinced of your desire's fulfillment that no outer circumstance can shake you from that conviction. There is no need to ask how your desire will come to pass. The means are not your concern. The law operates in ways beyond human comprehension. The moment you assume something as true, unseen forces begin to arrange the details. orchestrating events in ways you could never have predicted. But if you question the process, if you constantly check for signs, you are revealing that you do not yet fully believe. The seed does not grow faster by being unearthed every day to check its progress. It grows in silence, beneath the surface, until the moment it breaks through into visibility. You must learn to disregard the evidence of the senses. If your bank account contradicts your assumption of wealth, ignore it. If your current circumstances seem far removed from your goal, persist in your assumption. The outer world is merely an echo of past beliefs. To change the echo, you must change the sound. This is where many falter. They attempt to live in the end for a short while, but when they see no immediate changes, they revert back to old assumptions. They say, I tried to believe, but nothing happened. But the very act of trying reveals doubt. There is no trying in assumption. You do not try to believe the sun will rise tomorrow, you simply know it will. In the same way, you must know that your desire is already fulfilled. This is not an act of force, but an act of surrender. It is the deep, effortless conviction that what you seek is already yours. There is no strain in this. There is no effort. Just as you do not struggle to breathe, you do not struggle to believe in what is already true. And when you reach this state, manifestation is inevitable. To live in the end is to think, speak, and act from the state of already having. If you were already the person you wish to be, how would you feel? How would you carry yourself? What thoughts would you entertain? What conversations would you have? These are not idle questions. They are the very key to shifting your reality. Most people wait for external confirmation before they change their inner state. But those who understand the law change their inner state first, and the world follows. There is nothing that cannot be achieved through this principle. Whether it is love, success, health, or abundance, the process is the same. You must see yourself as already having it. You must remove all separation between you and your desire. There is no future fulfillment. There is only now. The moment you accept something as your present reality, the world has no choice but to conform. This is not wishful thinking. It is the mechanics of creation. Every great accomplishment, every success story, every miraculous transformation has followed this exact process. The world is full of those who have unknowingly used this principle to create both fortune and misfortune. But those who apply it with awareness hold the power to shape their lives deliberately. You do not need permission to assume the state you desire. You do not need conditions to change before you change within. The only requirement is your willingness to believe, your ability to see beyond what is and claim what can be. And the moment you do, the universe moves in ways unseen, guiding you toward the inevitable realization of your assumption. The world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. It does not exist independently of your consciousness. Everything you see, touch, and interact with is shaped by the assumptions you hold. Most people live under the illusion that they are separate from their reality, that life is happening to them rather than through them. But the truth is, you are both the cause and the effect, the creator and the creation. Your assumptions determine what you perceive, and what you perceive reinforces your assumptions in an endless loop. If you believe yourself to be poor, unworthy, or incapable, the world will mirror back to you circumstances that confirm these beliefs. You will struggle, not because struggle is a necessity, but because you have assumed it to be so. If you believe yourself to be successful, loved, and abundant, the world must present you with experiences that validate these assumptions. This is the law. It does not operate on chance, nor does it respond to fleeting desires. It responds only to that which is impressed upon the subconscious mind with conviction. Most people attempt to change their reality by working on the external world. They try to manipulate conditions, force outcomes, and chase after their desires, all while remaining unchanged within. This is why they struggle. They believe they must fight against circumstances, when in truth, circumstances are only shadows cast by their inner state. No amount of effort in the external world can override the assumptions held within. To transform your life, you must transform your self-concept. Self-concept is not just how you see yourself in the mirror. It is the totality of your inner convictions about who you are and what is possible for you. It is the blueprint upon which reality is built. Every experience you have ever had, every success, every failure, every opportunity or lack thereof, has been shaped by the assumptions you hold about yourself. You can desire all the wealth in the world, but if your self-concept is rooted in lack, if you see yourself as someone who must struggle to earn, your reality will reflect that struggle regardless of how hard you work. You can dream of love, but if your self-concept is that of someone who is undeserving, you will find ways to sabotage relationships or attract those who reinforce your belief. To change your self-concept, you must first become aware of it. You must examine the deep-seated assumptions that have been operating in the background of your life. What do you truly believe about yourself? Not what you wish for true, but what you actually assume to be true. If you find that your beliefs do not align with your desires, then the work begins. The only way to shift your reality is to shift the state from which you operate. You must assume a new self-concept, one that aligns with the life you wish to live. This is not pretending or self-deception. This is the foundation of creation. If you wish to experience success, you must not only desire it, you must become it. You must assume the state of already being successful. You must think as that version of yourself would think, feel as they would feel, act as they would act. It is not enough to say, one day I will be successful. That keeps the desire in the future always out of reach. Instead, you must say, I am successful now. You must claim it as your present reality, regardless of what your senses tell you. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It accepts whatever is impressed upon it with feeling and repetition. When you assume a new self-concept, when you persist in this new identity, your external world must conform to match it. This is not a matter of possibility, it is a certainty. The moment you stop identifying with your old self, the conditions that once defined you must dissolve. They have no choice but to fade, for they were only ever reflections of a past assumption. This requires discipline. The mind will attempt to pull you back into familiar states. It will remind you of past failures, reinforce old doubts, and tempt you to react to circumstances. But you must remain firm. You must refuse to return to the old state, no matter how convincing the external world appears. The world is a delayed reflection. It takes time for new assumptions to materialize. If you abandon your new self-concept too soon, you will simply recreate the same conditions as before. You are never bound by your past, no matter what has come before. No matter how long you have identified with limitation, you have the power to assume a new reality at any moment. The past does not dictate the future unless you allow it. The only thing that matters is what you are assuming right now. This moment is the point of creation. Right now, you can decide that you are already the person you wish to be. There is no need to seek outside validation. The change happens within. When you truly assume a new self-concept, when you fully embody it, the world will have no choice but to recognize it. People will treat you differently. Opportunities will present themselves. Circumstances will shift in ways that seem miraculous. But these are not miracles. They are the natural unfolding of the law. They are the inevitable result of an internal transformation. You do not need permission to change. You do not need external evidence before you believe. You are free to assume any identity you choose. And the moment you do, the world must rearrange itself to reflect it. This is not wishful thinking. This is the fundamental nature of reality. If you desire a new life, assume the feeling of already having it. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. The world is only ever showing you who you believe yourself to be. Everything in this world is a reflection of consciousness, and nothing exists independent of the mind that perceives it. The external world is not a rigid, fixed reality. It is fluid, shaped and molded by the assumptions you hold. Every experience, every interaction, every event that unfolds in your life is a direct outpicturing of the inner state you persist in. It is not chance, nor luck, nor an external force that determines the course of your reality. It is the contents of your own mind. The great secret hidden in plain sight is that imagination is the one and only reality. What you hold within the realm of imagination will externalize itself in the world of form. It has always been so. Every invention, every work of art, every advancement that mankind has ever known existed first as a thought, an image in the mind of the one who conceived it. Nothing comes into being unless it is first imagined. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the very words you speak, all were once ideas, invisible and intangible, before they became manifest. And so it is with your life. The circumstances you now experience are nothing more than the residue of past imaginal activity. Whether you were conscious of it or not, you have been shaping your world with your thoughts, your assumptions, and your persistent inner dialogue. The conditions you see before you are not separate from you. They are you expressed outwardly. If you wish to change what is seen, you must first change what is unseen. You must take control of the inner conversations that shape your destiny. Most people drift through life, unaware of the power they wield. They allow their minds to be occupied by doubt, fear, and limitation, never realizing that these very states are forming the conditions they so desperately wish to escape. They speak of their troubles, think constantly of their misfortunes, and dwell upon their failures, reinforcing the very reality they seek to change. What they do not understand is that the mind is a perfect mirror. Whatever you impress upon it must be reflected back to you. It does not matter whether the thought is wanted or unwanted. If it is held in consciousness with feeling, it must express itself. To direct this power consciously, you must assume the feeling of already having that which you desire. You must learn to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, to think from the end rather than of the end. This is the key that unlocks all doors. When you assume a state, when you persist in the feeling of already being the person you desire to be, the world must conform to make it so. This is not a matter of chance, nor does it require force or struggle. It is the law of consciousness in operation. You do not need external validation before you believe. You do not need to see evidence before you assume. In fact, the very act of waiting for proof keeps you bound to the old state. You must dare to believe in the unseen, to trust that the moment you assume a state, it is already a reality. The senses will argue otherwise. They will present you with the evidence of the past, showing you all the reasons why nothing has changed. But the senses are merely reflecting what has already been impressed upon the mind. If you continue to react to them, you will remain trapped in an endless cycle, recreating the same conditions over and over again. To break free, you must live in the imagination more than you live in the world of facts. You must learn to see beyond appearances and persist in the unseen reality. This is not fantasy, nor is it self-deception. It is the fundamental nature of creation. The world follows the mind, not the other way around. What you imagine with feeling, what you persist in, must externalize itself. It is law. The mind is always at work, shaping and molding reality. If you do not consciously direct it, it will operate according to the patterns and assumptions you have unconsciously accepted. This is why so many people remain stuck in cycles of limitation. They may wish for change, but their habitual inner dialogue contradicts their desires. They may dream of success, but their thoughts are filled with fear of failure. They may long for love, but they dwell upon loneliness. In doing so, they continue to reinforce the very states they wish to escape. You must take hold of your imagination and use it deliberately. Do not allow it to run wild, reproducing old patterns. Become its master and direct it toward that which you truly desire. Before you fall asleep at night, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Carry it with you throughout the day. Speak only as one who already possesses that which they seek. Let your thoughts, words, and actions be in harmony with your assumption, and above all, persist. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when the world seems unchanged, when circumstances appear to contradict your assumption. These are the moments that test your faith. Do not waver. Do not fall back into the old state. Remember, the world is a reflection, and reflections take time to change. But change they must, for consciousness is the only reality. If you persist, if you remain faithful to your new state, the world will be compelled to mirror it. The power is not outside of you. It is not in external conditions, nor in the opinions of others. It is within. It has always been within. The only thing required is your willingness to assume a new reality before it appears. Once you do, the world has no choice but to bring it into being. This is the great secret of creation. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and the world will reshape itself to reflect it. The world you experience is nothing but a projection of your inner consciousness. It is not separate from you, nor is it something imposed upon you by an external force. What you see, what you touch, what you interact with daily is the direct result of your assumptions, beliefs, and persistent inner conversations. Reality is fluid, shaped not by chance or fate, but by the impressions you hold within. The great secret that few understand is that the outer world can never be different from the inner world that produces it. You may believe that circumstances dictate your life, that you must react to what is before you, but this is an illusion. The events you encounter, the people you meet, the situations that unfold are all responses to the state of consciousness you occupy. Nothing appears by accident. If you wish to change your life, you must not battle with external conditions, nor strive to alter things on the level of effect. Instead, you must go directly to the cause, the inner state of being from which all things emerge. Your dominant feeling, your most persistent state of mind is what governs the events of your life. If you constantly dwell in thoughts of lack, worry, or limitation, your world must take on the shape of those feelings. Even if you strive outwardly to achieve success, if inwardly you carry the burden of doubt and fear, you will find yourself blocked at every turn. The reason is simple. Consciousness is always creating, always producing a reflection of itself in the external world. You may not always be aware of what you are creating, but that does not mean the law is not in operation. To take control of this process, you must learn to persist in the state of the wish fulfilled. The key word is persist. Many attempt to imagine their desires, but they do so half-heartedly. They try for a moment, then glance at their surroundings and declare that nothing has changed. They allow the evidence of the senses to dictate what they believe, failing to understand that the senses only report the past. What you see in the world today is the result of what you imagined and accepted as true yesterday. If you desire a new reality, you must persist in the assumption of that reality until it hardens into fact. This persistence is not a struggle. It is not an act of willpower or forced concentration. Rather, it is a quiet inner conviction, a willingness to dwell in the unseen reality until it is seen. Most people live entirely through their physical senses, allowing them to dictate what is possible. They look at their bank account, their relationships, their health, and conclude that these things define them. But the senses do not create reality. They only confirm what has already been created. If you wish to experience something different, you must learn to trust in the unseen more than the seen, for it is the unseen, the imaginal state, that is the true reality. There will be moments when the world appears unchanged, when circumstances seem to contradict your assumption. These are the moments that test your faith. Most abandon their vision at this stage, believing that their imagination was merely a fantasy. But those who persist, those who refuse to be swayed by appearances, are the ones who see their desires materialize. The world is a delayed reflection of consciousness, and every great manifestation requires an interval of time before it becomes visible. This interval is not a sign that nothing is happening. On the contrary, it is proof that your assumption is taking root. To persist means to live as if your desire is already fulfilled. It means to carry yourself in the feeling of already having what you seek, even when there is no outward evidence. This does not mean you must announce it to the world, nor does it mean forcing yourself into unnatural actions. Rather, it is an inward shift, a silent knowing that the thing desired is already yours. When you truly persist, you find that you no longer long for the thing, you simply know that it is done. And when that knowing becomes dominant, the world must rearrange itself to reflect it. Most people fail to persist because they allow doubt to creep in. They entertain conflicting thoughts, wavering between belief and disbelief. This is why so many experience inconsistent results. They may imagine their desire, but the next moment they question whether it is possible. They check their circumstances, and seeing no change, they fall back into their old assumptions. In doing so, they cancel out their creative act. The mind is always impressing itself upon reality, and if you waver in your assumption, you will waver in your results. The secret to true persistence is emotional conviction. You must feel the reality of your desire so deeply that it becomes more real to you than the world of facts. This is not pretending, nor is it wishful thinking. It is an inner shift in identity, a movement of consciousness from one state to another. The moment you truly feel yourself to be the person you desire to be, you have set the process of manifestation into motion. If you do not waver, if you persist in this feeling, then no force in the world can prevent its realization. Nothing is stronger than a controlled imagination, sustained with conviction. When you assume a state and remain faithful to it, the world has no choice but to conform. There may be moments of doubt, moments where the old reality tries to pull you back. But if you remain steadfast in your assumption, the new reality must emerge. It is law. This is not magic, nor is it superstition. It is the simple recognition that consciousness is the one and only reality, and that what is held persistently in consciousness must be made manifest. The great mistake people make is in thinking that manifestation is something they must force. They believe they must struggle, strive, and push their desires into existence. But true creation is effortless. It is not about trying harder. It is about believing deeper. It is about knowing that the moment you assume something to be true, it is true, and then resting in that conviction. This is the essence of persistence. It is not an act of will, but an act of trust. Trust in the unseen reality. Trust in the creative power of imagination. Trust that what is felt to be real must become real. When you persist in an assumption, when you refuse to accept anything other than the fulfillment of your desire, the entire universe moves to bring it into being. The people, events, and circumstances necessary for its realization will be drawn to you, not by chance, but by the unbreakable law of consciousness. What you assume to be true, if persisted in, must become fact. There is no exception to this law. The only question is, will you persist long enough to see it fulfilled? Your imagination is the workshop of creation, the very foundation upon which your reality is built. Every single thing that exists in your world first began as an idea, an unseen reality that was given life through the persistent focus of consciousness. Nothing comes into being without first existing in the realm of imagination. Yet most people live as though their imagination is a mere fantasy, something disconnected from the tangible world, rather than recognizing it as the creative force shaping everything they experience. You are always imagining, whether you do so consciously or not. Every thought, every inner dialogue, every feeling you entertain is an act of imagination, forming the structure of your reality. If you constantly dwell in ideas of limitation, failure, or struggle, your world will mirror those conditions. If you persist in thoughts of abundance, success, and joy, then these things must become manifest in your life. The great secret that many fail to grasp is that imagination is not passive. It is an active force, a living energy that gives form to the invisible. Most people, however, misuse this power. They allow their imagination to be dictated by external circumstances, reacting to what they see rather than shaping what they wish to experience. They see lack and confirm it in their minds, reinforcing the very condition they wish to escape. They experience rejection and replay it in their imagination, ensuring that it continues to manifest. They live as slaves to appearances, never realizing that they hold the key to transforming everything. The outer world is but a reflection of inner states. If you desire a new reality, you must first create it within. The great secret to manifesting quickly is to live in the end, to assume with absolute conviction that what you desire is already yours. The mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. It only responds to what you persistently feel to be true. If you can occupy the feeling of already having what you seek, without doubt or hesitation, then reality has no choice but to conform. The problem most people face is that they treat imagination as something separate from reality, rather than understanding that it is the only reality. When you imagine something vividly, when you feel it as though it were already accomplished, you are impressing it upon your subconscious mind. This impression is a seed, and like all seeds, it must take root before it grows into visible form. You do not plant a seed and dig it up the next day to check if it is growing. You trust that the process is underway, even though you cannot see it. The same principle applies to imagination. Once you have impressed a desire upon your mind, you must trust that it is already done. Doubt is the greatest enemy of manifestation. The moment you question whether your desire is possible, you disrupt the creative process. This is where most fail. They allow the evidence of the senses to dictate what they believe, rather than persisting in the unseen reality they have created. But what the senses report is always a reflection of past assumptions. If you look at your world and see something undesirable, it is not a fixed reality. It is merely an old creation, a product of previous thoughts and beliefs. If you do not like what you see, then change the image within. Your imagination is limitless. There are no restrictions on what you can create except those you impose upon yourself. The moment you accept something as possible within your imagination, you have already set the process of manifestation into motion. You do not need to know how it will happen, nor do you need to control the means by which it comes to pass. The how is not your concern. Your only responsibility is to remain faithful to the assumption that it is already done. The moment you let go of doubt, the moment you rest in the certainty that your desire is already a reality, the world will begin to shift in ways beyond your comprehension to bring it into being. Many believe they must work hard, struggle, or fight against circumstances to achieve their desires. But manifestation is not a matter of effort. It is a matter of alignment. It is not something you force, but something you allow. The moment you align with the feeling of already having what you seek, the universe begins to move. Doors will open, opportunities will arise, people will be drawn to you, all in response to the inner state you have assumed. This is not chance, nor is it coincidence. It is the law of consciousness in action. To truly master this process, you must become disciplined in your imagination. You must refuse to entertain thoughts of failure, doubt, or limitation. You must train yourself to live in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, no matter what the external world may suggest. If you can hold this assumption unwaveringly, with the same certainty that you hold the knowledge of your own existence, then manifestation is inevitable. It is not enough to merely wish for something or to daydream about a better life. You must feel it as real, so real that it becomes your dominant state of mind. The world you experience is nothing more than a projection of your inner consciousness. To change it, you must first change the image you hold within. Every great achievement, every transformation, every success story has its origin in the unseen world of imagination. The question is not whether you have the power to create. It is whether you will use it deliberately. rather than allowing the external world to dictate what you believe is possible. Your imagination is the creative center of your reality. The images you persistently hold in your mind, the emotions you attach to those images, the beliefs you cultivate, these are the forces shaping your destiny. When you understand this truth, when you begin to consciously direct your imagination rather than allowing it to be influenced by external circumstances, you will discover that manifestation is not a matter of effort, but of knowing. You will no longer seek, you will no longer strive, because you will understand that everything you desire is already within you, waiting to be expressed. The power of manifestation does not lie in mere wishing, hoping, or longing for something to appear. It is not about pleading with the universe or waiting for external forces to grant your desires. The truth is far more profound and far more certain. Creation is finished. Everything you have ever desired, every outcome you have ever imagined, already exists in the realm of consciousness. You are not creating something new. You are selecting from an infinite field of possibilities, bringing forth into experience that which you have claimed as real. Most fail to understand this simple yet transformative truth. They believe they must strive, struggle, and toil to bring their desires into reality. They believe that manifestation is a process of bringing something from nothing, rather than recognizing that everything already exists in an unseen state, awaiting their conscious selection. The limitation is never in the universe. It is only in the mind of the one who perceives lack. The moment you stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to attain, and instead recognize yourself as one who is choosing, everything begins to shift. Your assumptions determine the world you experience. What you accept as true, what you assume to be real, inevitably becomes your reality. There is no external power governing your life apart from the assumptions you hold within. If you assume yourself to be wealthy, then wealth must follow. If you assume yourself to be loved, then love must manifest. If you assume yourself to be successful, then success is inevitable. But if you assume yourself to be struggling, lacking, or failing, then these too must appear, for consciousness is always expressing itself in form. Many wonder why their desires seem to remain unfulfilled, why they struggle to bring about the changes they long for. The answer is simple. They waver in their assumption. They believe one thing in their imagination, yet they contradict it with doubt, with fear, with beliefs rooted in the evidence of their senses. They assume for a moment, but then they look at their external world and allow it to dictate their conviction. They shift back and forth, never fully committing to the reality they wish to experience. But the law does not respond to uncertainty. It responds to faith, to unwavering persistence in the assumption that what is desired is already done. The world is nothing but a mirror reflecting the state of your mind. If you wish to change your reflection, you do not argue with the mirror, nor do you attempt to change it directly. You change the image that is being reflected. The outer world is not the cause, it is merely the effect. Your consciousness is the only cause. The moment you cease to react to appearances, the moment you refuse to accept anything other than your chosen assumption, the mirror must reflect something new. It has no choice. It is bound by law to follow the impressions made upon consciousness. To truly manifest at will, you must discipline your mind. You must take absolute control over what you accept as real, rejecting all contrary evidence, no matter how convincing it may seem. You must remain loyal to your assumption as though your very life depended on it. When the world presents opposition, when circumstances seem to contradict your vision, you must remind yourself that these are merely past manifestations, shadows of former thoughts that no longer hold power. They are illusions, fading remnants of an old state of being. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot hold on to both faith and doubt, both certainty and hesitation, and expect to see results. You must make a choice. Do you accept the unseen reality you have claimed, or do you allow appearances to dictate your belief? The disciplined mind does not waver, does not question, does not seek validation from the world of effects. It rests in the absolute knowing that what has been assumed is already accomplished. The only thing standing between you and the life you desire is your ability to remain steadfast in your assumption. The moment you fully accept your wish as a present fact, the moment you live in the feeling of it already being fulfilled, reality has no choice but to conform. You are not asking for permission, you are not hoping for a favorable outcome. You are declaring with certainty that this is your reality, here and now. Everything exists. Every possibility, every outcome, every version of yourself already exists in consciousness. Your task is not to create, but to select. The moment you assume something as real, you have chosen it, and the world must rearrange itself to bring it into your experience. The secret is to persist, to refuse to accept anything less than the fulfillment of your desire. This is the law. This is the truth. And when you master it, you will no longer wonder how to manifest. You will simply know. Everything you seek is already yours. The power to manifest is not something external, not something granted to a chosen few. It is an immutable law, working in perfect harmony with your consciousness. The world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of the assumptions you hold. What you accept as true in your imagination must materialize in your physical world. There is no need to struggle, no need to beg, no need to force anything into being. The only work required is the work of assumption, the unwavering conviction that your desire is already a present reality. The moment you claim it, the moment you live in the feeling of its fulfillment, the unseen must become seen. You do not need to figure out the how or the when. The law takes care of all details. Your only responsibility is to remain faithful to the reality you have chosen. Doubt is the only barrier between you and your manifestation. The moment you remove hesitation, the moment you reject the evidence of the senses and trust in the unseen, you step into the realm of true creation. Every moment you persist in your assumption, you are solidifying it into form. The mirror of the world has no choice but to reflect the new image you hold. There is no secret to manifestation, only truth. You are the creator of your reality, and the world must shape itself according to your imagination. If you truly grasp this, if you truly live by it, then nothing will ever be impossible for you again. Everything you desire is already here. The only question is, will you dare to assume it?